record button. I say, yo, what up? How's it going, man?
It's good. It's good. How are you?
It's also going quite well. So we're doing a deck dodger today on your really awesome Tetsutetsu list.
One more time.
Tetsutetsu list.
Okay, there we go.
And we're doing a deck dodger. So we're gonna sit down. We're gonna talk about the awesome list that you have. So I've seen this list in action before, correct? This is the list that you played yesterday.
This is updated. So yesterday there were 9 additional cards in this, and I just trimmed it down. Really, just trimming some 4s to 3s and 3s to 2s, and optimizing the attack lineup a little bit. And yeah,
I love it. So let's chat about the list. Hit me with the elevator pitch, and I'm gonna go see if I can find some cool, fun stuff to stick in your sideboard. I'm gonna put them in the sideboard. Yeah. So hit me with what's going on.
So this originally was a Deku 2 list that I brought to the most recent online provisional. And in every game, I would sideboard into Tetsu and win, and regardless of how game 1 went as Deku. So then I thought, why don't I just play Tetsu? I feel like he plays just as aggressively, and with his named attack, he builds while maintaining hand advantage, combined with hardened jab. Right? It's just he builds more than any other 5-hander I think that I've seen. I think, and all while being able to just easily put 4 damage on everything. And the trade-off to how aggressive and losing your hand is my 4 of passing the torches, because I'm always going to make sure, as long as I see that turn 1 or 2, I know how aggressive I can be. Being able to pick them back up when I check them with new training method is always great, or pick it up when with a hardened jab so I can play it afterwards, right? So it gives me the ability to extend long if I have to, but also control my resources. And most importantly, despite in this iteration the low block count being low, I can usually always hold the right zones, because with his once per turn and then followed into his response, or even just the response in general, I can just pick up exactly what I need, which is how I survived a Todoroki 2 that strung out 7 attacks on me in the final kill turn, all because I was able to just pick up the exact blocks with like 1 or 2 difficulty on them as needed. So I feel like he's very stable, which is something I have always strived to build with decks, because before I would play things like Tokoyami, which is very glass cannon, or I'd play something like that's just too defensive. I feel like Tetsu, surprisingly, for a 5-hander, has a good mixture of aggression and stability.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So I love the good punch package, right? I'm a Midoriya 1 stan, right? Like I'm so Deku 1 pilled, it's not even funny. And so there's a lot of choices that you've left on the cutting room floor. I'm excited to talk about it. So what do you think is the like number 1 what do you think is the best and the worst attacks inside of the deck currently?
I think the 2 contenders for best attacks, I mean, back alley I'm not going to talk about because that's just everything.
Yeah.
But Tetsu Fist, obviously, being able to just especially combined with any means necessary, like you just plus on so many occasions. You plus a foundation, you plus a card in hand, you give it 4 damage. Then with Tetsu, you give it 2 speed with its front. If it's late game, you also get your powerful 3 on a 6 speed. I think it's just all around good. But I think what's even better is when you play that and they have to defend very heavily, and then you follow up with an Airstream Driver for 6 high for 13 something or whatever damage. I think is one of the greatest combinations. Or like one thing I learned with Tetsu is like the first attack is 9 times out of 10 always blocked. So I loved Airstream Driver as a sweet follow up, despite it not being a punch. It's hard to argue with a 6 high for 13.
Totally agree. Completely agree. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and slam some stuff into the sideboard that we can chat about. Have you tried Swan and Limber yet?
Yes, in my bulkier build, I was running this as a 2 of, which followed the reason I brought it in after bringing in an Airstream Driver and then checking all my cards. I'm like, this pretty much works with everything. But at the time, the deck was like 67, 68 cards, and I thought it's a 4-check, it's a mid block. It was one of the things on the chopping block originally when I wanted to keep the deck as thin as possible. But if I'm going back to a more bulkier deck, then it would definitely be a contender to come back in as a 2 of maybe.
My favorite part about this card, obviously, and as a Tetsu player, is like you get smacked with something, you lift a card, and then you just ready 3 small numbers. You get to now block with that card for sure, right? Just like being able to re-ready something and then block really stretches out that 32 health. It's I think that's really, really neat, and it's got like a cool offensive plan. My only issue is as your character, you can't trigger its response on your turn unless you've got something like self-sacrifice. It might actually exclusively be self-sacrifice. Double checking. Yeah, it's just self-sacrifice. I guess hardened jab also makes you lose a card. Yep, it's just hardened jab or self-sacrifice. That's it. And so like it feels very one-sided. It's not, you don't have like the Gran Torino thing going on.
Right. In the build that had it, I was also running like 2 hardened chops, so like I had a few extra ones, and then there's also the 2 go for the wins.
Yeah, so
but that's not during. Is that technically not during the combat phase if it's a form? Or
so anything that happens after the ready review draw, that is all during the start phase of the game, and then every time that you're playing cards as forms, blocks, attacks, whatever, building, that all happens during the combat phase, and then cleanup happens during the end phase. So like the cards leave and then go to momentum and discard pile, build down to the stage, so on. So yes, go for the win does work. How cool. So that was like the number one thing that I think is like really neat and cheeky. Everything else that I kind of put in here is like really staple stuff. I guess besides good impressions. Have you ever played with this card?
I've never once tried the card.
This card is really, really good at a 2 of. It does basically what you want Advice for Winners to do, but it helps you string out. Advice for Winners is really good at the beginning of the turn, where Good Impressions is good at the end of the turn. Being able to play your Texas Smash as your 3rd card as a 5 diff feels really good. You'll never have to commit a card, and if you do have to commit a card, you have a flipped Good Impressions to do so. This card is just so exceptionally good on your big kill turn to string out as far as you want to. Things like Hardened Jab, Texas Smash, Go for the Win, plus Good Impressions and Advice for Winners says that like if you want to keep swinging moves, you can. This is at a 2 of is really important inside of the Midoriya deck that I play because like normally I kill you on a 4 attack string and the last one gets the +10 where you're just like slamming +4 damage on every move, right?
I like that.
And so like it is not amazing, right? But like saying that your reverse throw is your 3rd move is actually on a 6, right? 5, 6,
right.
7. Yeah, be on a 6. And so you check a 5, you commit your Good Impressions, and like your face down Good Impressions, you feel fine, right? Like that's really good value as your 3rd attack to then keep swinging. And not to mention you get things like Full Cowling, which I'm surprised you're not playing. Have you tried this card in this deck?
It was the original list, right? So again, I was a Deku 2 first, then I swapped over and I kept this in the original list.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one of the challenges I had is I loved all the additional effects that some of the other attacks did.
Right.
And that's kind of what contributed towards me cutting it. But it's always been a contender to come back in. But the deck had been doing fairly well, but then I realized there was a consistency issue, and I think the victories that I was stringing together were just because of good luck and not because of the deck being consistently the same kind of thing every time. So I definitely would consider bringing it back in, for sure.
So the reason I like Full Cowling is because yesterday whenever we played, I really felt that you would, quote, go in and then leave yourself pretty helpless, just praying that your enhance once per turn and the response was going to save you, and this card will leave you with like 2 cards in hand that like you get to like actually contend with a block with. And so like this card being played at the end of a string as opposed to your Airstream Driver, which would take up that same low block slot. It's a 4 high for 6 as opposed to a 6 high for 9. 6 high for 13. I mean, this thing demands respect, and you like can still play interesting abilities like or interesting tactics like Any Means Necessary to synergize with it. So I think I don't know how often like it was like swing one for all continue, but I think this card is very cool in this list.
I would agree. Like I said, it was in the original list. I think I more or less wanted to really try out Airstream, and I really enjoyed it. But when you think about it, right, is the extra 3 damage and speed worth not having a draw 3, right? Sometimes a draw 4 if it was the last attack in your hand and you had a first impressions. So yeah, I would consider cutting maybe the Airstream if you think that would be the trade, if you think that's better in terms of overall value.
I personally think so. I mean, that's how I feel about it. It covers the same low block. It's still that same 5 diff slot. It's still the same block zone. This thing certainly hits harder, but this thing might let you play the game more optimally. So I think
Yeah.
I think I am gonna toss it in here at the 2 of, and then we're gonna toss this just into the sideboard, and mess around with it and see what you like and what you don't like. We're gonna cut these ones
For sure. Plus, it's another punch, right? So then I can
Right.
not first impression. I can good impression it. So many impressions. And obviously Texas Smash and things like that. So I think as far as overall deck flow, that makes more sense.
Correct. Invincible class Facepalm Takedown. Interesting that we didn't include these cards in the deck. I think Facepalm Takedown sucks, but I have to talk about it because it's part of this new good symbol punch package, or good symbol throw package. But Invincible Clasp is not in your deck at all. Any particular reason?
So I haven't tested it yet, but I have 2 builds of this, and one is all throw focus. So it runs
okay.
like 3 clasp, 2 facepalm take. It runs 3 reverse throws. It runs 2 or 3 of the overhead, the low one that builds a 0. So and then like 4 haymakers and like 2 Tetsu fists. So I had another build with them that I haven't tested yet, but they don't like. My biggest issue is the cards I would cut for these are things like Texas Smash, Hardened Jab. Like I would trade a 4-diff for a 4-diff, or I really love Tetsu Fist as a 4, but like I'd be willing to cut it down to a 3 or a 2. It's just trying to find room without making the deck like 68 cards again.
My answer is going to be cut 1 back alley, 1 Tetsu Fist. They're both
Really?
same high block slots. It makes your curves a little lower, and so you don't like these cards are exceptionally good. But this card is just like guaranteed value on this card pushes you towards the win of the game as opposed to anything, and that would just be like a 2 of. I think that back alley and Tetsu Fist are great. They just feel bad clumping. Drawing 2 back alley haymakers in the same turn feels rough. Drawing 2 Tetsu Fists in the same turn feels rough. Just because like if you check a single 3, like especially early, right? It just does not feel good. And if that is the line that you're forced to play, and it always feels good discarding a card off of Invincible Clasp. Always.
Right. I'm in for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So trim them down to the haymaker and fist down to 3 ofs and sneak 2 of those in.
Yeah,
I think that's fair.
I think that might be because even inside of my Midoriya list, right? I'm only playing 3 back alleys. Which is insane. This card is cool.
I've never not run that card as a 4 of, so
yeah.
I was shocked when you said that, but I mean you played more decks than I do, so
you will be surprised how often you draw it and how impactful it is when it is impactful. How often are you just like holding a back alley haymaker because like you played one but you don't have the chance to play another? You made yourself a 4-hander the turn because like you don't have the it's actually just a dead card in your hand. And that is frustrating.
Yeah. Because I almost never want to back alley into a back alley. I usually back alley into a jab or a Texas Smash, and then I'm playing the next back alley on a 7, and then I'm just like, well, this is probably my last attack because I don't think I can string a 4th one on an 8 difficulty now or whatever.
And now you get back alley into Smash into Invincible Clasp, and that card hits for 1,000.
Yeah,
and I think actually dips you exactly to 0 cards, right? 1, 2, 3 cards. And then you can Texas Smash for a 4th card and then discard on Invincible Class for the 5th. Yeah. So if you have that 3 card combo, 3 card tactic, and then 3 card tactic and then two bonus cards, that puts you exactly to 0, so you're passing the Sorcerer's Life on the Invincible Clasp. And Clasp gets to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 damage. 3 high for 14. That feels okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Just
on a 5, on a 5, on a 6. Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah,
that's neat.
It's also the only non-punch, right? So that doesn't throw things off too much as a 2-0. So I don't think it'll disrupt anything.
Yeah, same thing for Airstream Driver, right? Like that was the same idea.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so Earphone Jack. Why is this guy in here?
I just threw that back in. Now that we're not running the what do you call it, the Airstream Driver anymore, we could probably just cut it. I always just thought it was a nice way to any amount of mill I always consider like a small amount of disruption, but the extra speed that it gives Haymaker, that it would have given Airstream Driver was nice. But now that I'm on the train of cutting Airstream Driver, I don't think it's necessary in the deck anymore. I don't think it's that useful. I just thought of it as maybe a one-off, but it can go.
So the coolest thing about this card is that Tetsutetsu doesn't say foundation and he says card. You can add one card from your stage to your hand, so you can pick up your earphone jack without disrupting your foundation
Oh,
count. So you can store a 1 high block in your stage and then pick it up and not lose tempo foundation wise.
right.
I've also seen people taking and playing extra Tetsus in their deck to do the same thing, to then pick up a 0 mid block and do something along those lines. I think that
cheeky.
second part is bad. I think that first part is good. The fact that you said that you haven't done, like, that was not your goal, I think you probably should take it out. I think it's neat. I think if we were playing a more good symbol charge focused build, yeah, I think I could see it happening. But I think it's actually would be better as our 5 hand size character to just build more foundations if possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
I am getting rid of it. Capture Evildoers, go for the win. What's up with these actions? Hit me with it.
So, Capture Evildoers, I was running as a 4 of in Deku. I cut it down to a 3 of in Tetsu. I recently trimmed it down to a 2 of again because I'm just trying to I was trying to keep the deck thinner. I'm very rarely holding consistently enough attacks to make the form valuable, and 9 times out of 10, this was just to steal momentum from certain characters. So I contemplated 3 main, 1 side, 2 main, 2 side. I was going to test it with the 2 in the main to see how it felt, but all the time, all this card has ever done is steal momentum. In Deku, I had enough hand size and enough consistent attack draws that I was stringing out enough attacks to make the form worth it. But in Tetsu, I have yet to be able to do it.
Yeah, I probably would just slam this in the sideboard at the 2 of. I think that
You wouldn't even main the 2.
Nah.
You're saying?
Nah.
Okay.
So here's why, right? So
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit of the mind game of it. You're playing the good symbol. My opponent has to respect that you have Capture Evildoers in their deck, specifically like the decks that like don't necessarily need the momentum, right? So you're gonna be a little weaker versus the combo air decks. And that's okay as long as you learn to play around that. But the people that like randomly hold on to a momentum have to just like respect the fact that you could be playing Capture Evildoers, and so they're not allowed to hold on to momentum all willy-nilly. They're just not allowed to. Then in game 1, they see that you're not playing it. They don't see you check it. They don't see you play it. Obviously, you're not maining it. They then start stealing that momentum to do it, and then you Capture Evildoers them in game 2 and game 3 to punish them that way. But taking these actions out means that we get to just have more consistent builds. And because we're playing 20 attacks, we as a 5 hand size character with things like Tetsutetsu, Fisted Back Alley, Haymaker, because these cards are essentially the same card, which is why I'm also okay with dropping them down to 3 ofs. We want to build as quickly as we can, and these ones help. We want to have a 55 card deck with 20 attacks because after turn 2 we want to swing, build 1, pass, or build 2, pass, and only have discarded once on Tetsutetsu, right? How scary is it playing? I can tell you playing against Tetsutetsu, when you don't discard for the +4, I lose my mind. I go, oh shit, this turn's gonna be so crazy, and it's very possible I just take that one on the chin, and you build 2, pass, and I go, wait, you didn't discard? And you go, nah, I'd rather hold the 2 blocks. Right, sneaking 5 damage in, stealing a momentum, so that my whatever works better. Honestly, you don't even need momentum. I mean, you have clasp now, right? But we're not playing anything to use momentum, so our own Capture Evildoers don't even matter. Yeah, this is such.
Tetsu has powerful and Haymaker are the only 2 momentum outs I had. Those are the only 2 I had because again, I'd never use Capture Evildoers for its momentum cost. I would just use it to steal momentum. So I don't. And against I faced another good deck. My last round last night was a Deku 2. Okay. And I respected the Capture Evildoers. I was just like, I don't need the momentum. I give +4 to everything. I don't need the powerful 3 on Tetsu. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, let's toss it in the sideboard. I think sideboard's the good place for it.
Yeah, I'll probably cut my. I had 2 price for piece in the sideboard. I've never once sided it in because I just don't like the extra difficulty. So I'm probably just gonna cut them from the side.
I think the only symbol that really gets to play price for piece for the straight face just is the death symbol, just because of forcing surrender to discard it from the card pool.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Go for the win. What are you thinking here?
I added it in as just like a random 2 of to also help with my low block count, and honestly, I love this card as a 2 of. I'd consider it. I was considering bumping it to a 3 because so many times I'll go just like build 3 against like a 6 or a 7 hander. They'll build out like crazy, and then I'm like, cool, I'm just gonna get +1 resource at no cost, throw 1 or 2 attacks out, build, and then my defenses are up. I love the card, and I've honestly I've used its response plenty of lately.
Yeah, the
Some
response is
people
great.
just go, yeah, just the extra 2 speed, it's worth it. It's annoying that it stays in the pool, but I'm usually using it on my last attack of the turn anyway.
That makes sense.
I'm a big fan of the card. I'm not sure if I could run it more than a 2 of, but a 2 of if I feel really comfortable with. Plus, again, low block count's really low. I could use it.
For sure. Okay, from here, I'm down to leave it at a 2 of. I don't think it needs to be any more than that. Personally, right. I think if you are trying to put it at more than that, I think you're swinging into more of like a really hyper aggressive type thing, right? Because that's how I see Go for the Win. Go for the Win is like this cheeky, like kill you on turn 2 type business, which Tetsu can do, but I don't think it should be his main mode. You said that you were missing low blocks, but you don't have 4 Manly Passionate Guy. Isn't the card insane with your character?
The reason I wasn't playing this as a 4 of is because during the games I've been playing the last couple weeks, I was building so much between Haymaker, Tetsu Fist, replacing things with Hardened Jab. Again, I also used to have two Hardened Chops in the build.
Right.
I felt that I was building enough, often actually going into Deadlock against decks I didn't want to go into Deadlock against. So
sure.
I felt it was comfortable as a 2 of. But I could see the argument to bump it up.
So the reason I think that this card is so important is one of the ways to try and beat Tetsutetsu is to make you feel like you have to use your response to slam your foundations back into your hand, and you need to be able to block and build them back down so that you do not lose tempo foundation wise, and that's what Manly Passionate Guy does. If you've got 2 Manly Passionate Guys, one face up, one face down, you get smacked, you pick one up, you block, you build it down, you get smacked, you pick it up, you block, you build it down, and you'll forever have these low blocks, and that's not to mention things like I was gonna say Battle Resolve with this card is not very good, we'll get there, but things like Passing the Torch, right? Like you get to pick up your committed Passing the Torch, block with it, build it down, commit, draw 2 cards. Like this card just like lets you reuse stuff so incredibly well. It feels really, really good.
Yeah. Plus it helps round off the low block count at this point now that with the changes we've made. So yeah, I'm down to bumping it.
I want to put it up to a 3 at bare minimum.
Yeah, we'll try it as a 3 for now. I might bump it to a 4. With most of my cards, it's usually for foundations. I'm either doing 2s or 4s, as you can see.
Right.
But I think I'll test that as a 3, and I might bump it up if I like it enough.
First impressions. I'm a bona fide first impressions hater. How do you feel about this card?
So I was benefiting it from the speed, right? That's one of my favorite interactions was, again, as I mentioned, almost every turn, no matter what, the first attack is getting blocked because it's coming at them for 9 damage minimum with this 12 damage. And then the next one you follow up into Airstream Driver, which now becomes a 9 high for 13, which is just almost unblockable at that point. But now that I'm not running that card, and I mean the extra 3 speed is nice because this deck doesn't have much speed to it, or any way of giving speed. I liked it, but I can tell you, and my locals can attest to this, that I forget that it's a first enhance almost every single game I play, and then it just sits there. So
can I sell you instead on note taking? We're technically losing 1 speed, and your entire lineup is punches except for the clasp, but it's a better block, it's a better spam, and it's at your pace, right? Your agency to do this, as opposed to first impressions being all relevant on what my opponent is doing.
Right.
First impressions, my opponent gets to dictate what the best situation is for them. Oh, do I take this on the chin because I need to block the second one? No, I'm gonna make whatever I want fast, whether it be the first, the second, the 8th move. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I just forget about a lot of the Deku 1 starter cards because I've rarely used them outside of like Passing the Torch and self sack.
Right.
So yeah, that's a smart switch. I can because again, I 9 times out of 10 will forget the first enhance, and then the card's useless to me. So
right, 100%, and you can play this whenever you want.
Exactly.
It's all you. Advice for winners. Can I convince you to drop this down to a 2 and try the double good impressions?
Yeah, no, for sure. I was actually running this as only a 3 of up until last night. but I feel like a 2-2 split would be fine.
We still get to keep our high blocks the same as well because they're
Yeah,
both three
exactly.
highs. I think these do just like they like have overlapping jobs. And I think this card is really really cool for specifically whenever you've got like really neat full cowling type moves. It's very cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Similar to how note taking lets me play at my own agency, right? Like I
Right.
can choose when good impressions is going to help me out.
Very
Rather
much
than
so.
advice for winners is, I've had games where advice for winners it wasn't I didn't need it,
Yeah.
but it's the protection that I like. I'm high on the card every deck. I have an evil Nomu deck that runs it as a 4 of as well, but I think I need to learn to stop hyping up certain cards so much and just playtest maybe a wider spread of foundations rather than 4 of specifics
I
unless
think
they're necessary.
4 ofs are bad for the most part. Like
Yeah.
like for the most part, I think it's better to have a way wider uh spot. Battle resolve. Hit me with battle resolve. This is my last card. I really have an issue with that and manly friendship, but we'll get there.
So Battle Resolve was mainly just there as another zero diff for back alley, but also again this was originally Deku, and I loved having the Battle Resolves for the speed. That's the
Hmm.
only time I would use their enhances. Otherwise, they would just get flipped or they would get destroyed to pay for something. So it's definitely something I'd be willing to cut. It's just I always most decks I build I keep 8 zero diffs minimum.
Interesting.
The only other zero diff I can think of was Recovery Girl's Kiss, which at the end of the day they're similar in the sense that they both heal me, but this
Hmm.
has the added bonus of the speed. But most of the time I'm not gonna want to tap them for speed. I'm gonna use those foundations to pay for the next attack that hopefully will be the kill shot or something like that. So, what are your thoughts on like how many zero diffs and how many of Battle Resolve should even be run, if any?
So I want to say in my Midoriya list, I only play It Can't Be Fixed. I don't like Battle Resolve. I don't like Recovery Girl's Kiss, and I think those are the only zero diffs that the good symbol has access to.
Yeah.
I just ran these ones and was fine with Back Alley. It was totally chill.
Okay.
Just drawing the card is good enough. So, it'll let you build a little deeper do the discard. Like you like drawing a card off of Back Alley is quote just as good as building one off of it. And so like Battle Resolve turning into 2 more copies of Self Sacrifice is cool, as well as 2 more copies of Destined for Mainstream Success, and I think you'll just find better results. Self Sacrifice has a crazy synergy with your once per turn.
Right.
And I think it is technically better than Manly Friendship because it's spammable and reusable over and over again. And
Plus
you
it's a one
destroy.
low.
It is a 1 low. And then this also has the added bonus of if you absolutely need to, right? You destroy your face down. It can't be fixed, and then just build it back in with Haymaker, and
Right.
then like you have more. Now I have 5 zero diffs in my deck, kind of, right? Um,
Yeah, and with trimming the deck down right from a 68 card deck to now we're in the 50s, I think seeing the it can't be fixed for the haymakers will be a lot easier now. So I'm down to cut it.
yeah, I love it.
Like I said, I've never used it. It's enhanced in this deck. I used it in Deku plenty, but not in this deck.
The fact that Destin gets to look at the top card of your deck is cheating. It is cheating. And then lastly, Manly Friendship. How do you feel about this card?
The only reason I wanted this is I just originally I wanted a good split between. I was running 3 self sacks and 3 manually friendships last night, and I saw them both plenty. But with the deck going thinner, I think the concern was that self sack obviously I have to sacrifice resources,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's worth it considering it's more than once per turn. It keeps me at a deadlock. It's a 1 low block that I can pick back up. And now that we're bumping that up to a 4 of, I could see the argument of cutting manly friendship. But that was the reason it was there.
As well as like this card in a pinch can give you minus a bunch of stats, but whenever you've got your 10 foundations, right? You've drawn 4 attacks as opposed to discarding bonus cards out of your hand. Now you're destroying these committed foundations in your stage and then pop, 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 pop. And then like I check a 3, I commit 2. Well, I'll have double self-sacrifice on stage. I'll blow these up. Now it's plus 2 damage on whatever move I want. So you like self-sacrifice, 2 self-sacrifices, half of Tetsutetsu to make things like really, really scary. I actually want to take out the manly friendships and just put in these specialist sounds exclusively so that you have some sort of speed hate, because that's the big thing that you're missing. The only one that you have really is high value target, and I think a 2 of is probably the correct move.
Yeah, that actually just got cut down because I never cared about having more than one. And I've been trying to find room for a specialist. So
You are not
like
Nomu. And you are not allowed to just face tank everything. You're allowed to face tank
Right.
one thing. And so, like, blocking does need to be on the menu, to the point where we're at 56 cards. I want this to be a 3 of, but I get why we don't have room. I'm going to look at, actually, my block zones.
Surprisingly, mid is our lowest now, which is fine.
That is okay. It's interesting. And you're sold to advice for winners?
I'm not sold, but I hate checking bad. Yeah. It's like my biggest pet peeve. It's the it's always the games that you remember the most is when you check a 3 when you had the win,
right.
And things like that, or note taking. But if you think the card's mid, I trust your judgment. I haven't tried this deck without it yet, so
here's a
so maybe cut 2 of those and put specialist and other impressions as 3 of each.
I was gonna say have this here and then put in the 1 specialist and then just 1 more new training method.
So just add.
So we would cut our low block stack because we're at 56 cards. I'm not allowed to increase the number. Man, it's also like if you like the card, then I think we keep the card, right? I just think that like blocking is so important for 5 hand size characters because like your life is that resource, and if we can keep us at 32 the entire time, like the only time we ever lose life is just on our own invincible class.
Or like if we want to take the 1 to pick up an attack, that's what I've done before. So
right.
So yeah, that makes sense. I haven't tried it without advice for winners, so I'm down to cut the 2 for now and put, what do you say, new training method as a 3 of and then specialist as a 3 of.
Yeah, this lets us build really fast early, very safely, right? Like we just slam down bonus cards.
And I love new training method whenever I'm up against a deck that runs ready, set, go, and I just build 3 and then get my 4th one anyways.
Right.
That's probably 100%. The best
100%.
feeling in the world.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. What do our block zones look like right now?
We are here, 21, 15, 20.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's great. I love that my high block average is under a 2. That's consistently been an issue for me.
Yeah. I like this deck a lot, man. I think this deck is really neat.
It's been putting in work for the last couple of weeks, so it's my new favorite.
Hell yeah. Man, we've got a lot of high blocks on our attacks.
Yeah.
I guess that's okay. That is honestly my issue with Tetsu and Haymakers. They both share a high block, right?
Yeah.
That is
I
don't know.
One of the Pena brothers, and I usually trust their judgment because they top every other event that they play in. They're trying to convince me to squeeze Heart and Chop back in the deck, but like,
I mean, you have to cut one of these.
Exactly, that's the thing, and I love those cards so much, and I don't think I could justify it, especially since I can't cut Tetsu Fist. It's just I think it's too good for what it needs to do. Plus, it's got the powerful 3 on it, which is great.
Sure.
And Back Alley just those 2 cards do too many things. That's why I'm willing not to run it. So maybe a sideboard card for later. Who knows?
Yeah, either that or it's good clasp, but it's
interesting.
They have the same job, right? Of like being good pokes, because like you never want to block chop, but like this is guaranteed damage. Sans Wall Cling, Sans Faith Shield.
Yeah.
So maybe if this card doesn't work out, maybe cut just for the 2.
Yeah, because right now Chop is just a 2 of, so that's what I'd be trading it out for. So yeah, I'll test it as is, and then if I miss Chop, I'll squeeze it in as a 2 of.
I love it.
Cool.
Is there anything in the list that you vehemently disagree with that you absolutely hate?
No, everything kind of aligns with the strategy, and we managed to keep the deck pretty thin, so I'm content. I'm happy.
Tight. All right, man. Well, let me shoot you the list, and you have a good rest of your night, okay?
You as well, bud. Thank you.
Right. Peace.